Hey guys, Dave and Jamie here today talking about the top 5 things you must know before you go buy a bow. In front of you today, you can see all these amazing bows, and 2021 was a great year for bow manufacturers. Yeah. Not only do they sell a ton of bows because of the market just being on fire, but they also have developed some really cool technology, and they've really made this a hard choice for you because there's so much great competition going on here. So that brings us to number 1.
Cost. I actually just had this conversation with a guy at work, right? Telling me kind of he bought a Quest and how much he spent and why he did it, because he's just starting, right? So, and that's kind of what we'll take is we're just kind of starting out. So what's your budget? Is your budget $500? Is your budget $2,500? Right? Huge different options for you to go through and try to find. Now let's say your option is $500. There's a lot of things you got to take into account, right? You're not going to get the top of the line Matthews for $500, okay? You're gonna go to a box store probably, and you might find yourself a already set up nice bear for about $500.
PSE, there's a ton of brands in that range that can give you a ready to hunt package is the key term there. Yeah, so speaking of that, let's talk about the need real quick. When you buy a bow, just to make a quick list here for you guys. So you got the bow, you got a sight, you got a stabilizer, you got a rest, you have a peep sight, a D-loop, you have a sling that goes around your wrist like this. You have a bow case, you have arrows, you have broadheads, you have field tips, and you have a target. And I think that's about everything that I can think of. There might be some little stuff. That'll get you going. But just keep those things in mind when you set that overall budget. So if you say to myself, hey, you know, I don't know how much this is, but let's say it's $600 for this ready to hunt package. I kind of need a budget like $800, $900. So keep that in mind when you're buying a bow. But also keep in mind that these are all great brands. So don't worry about what you're buying in these brands. They are really good. But that brings us to number 2. What are you buying the bow for? Is it for hunting? Is it for target shooting? Because that does change the type of bow you should be looking for. So first you want to set your costs, and then you want to go to why do I need it? What is the actual need of the bow? Again, a target bow or a 3D bow are usually a longer axle bow, 35 inches plus in general, maybe even 34, 33, but generally they're a little bit higher. If it's a combo, you might want a bow that's around a 33-inch axle. And the axle is basically from the top to the bottom of the bow. Bow hunters who hunt in tree stands and hunt all the time generally accept a 31 or lower axle. To do that mainly because you want to stay away from limbs around you. You want to have room to do what you need to do. But that brings me to the number 3, which is what do you want in the bow? Do you want speed or performance or comfort? Like, these are very important things. So the way I look at it is you either want high performance or you want comfort. So in my mind, there's 2 ways to do this. It becomes the brace height, okay? So the brace height is the distance between your shelf and the string. And most bows that are bow hunting bows are 6-inch brace height, which would be kind of the standard nowadays, I'd say. But if you wanted faster bow, you're most likely going down to a 5-inch brace height, 5.5, which means the bow's more aggressive and will be a little bit harder to pull. So keep that in mind. You have to make that decision before you buy, because you need to know, do I want an aggressive fast bow or do I want a more slower but relaxing bow that I can use whenever I want?
Yeah, because I mean 10 years ago I was trying to find the fastest bow I could, right? To be damned with you know, the back wall and all that other kind of thing. And now that I'm getting a little older, you know, I guess I'm 41. Now I want something that locks in place, which leads us to number 4 is the let off, right? I used to shoot a lot of bows, and I think at one point I started getting a little jumpy on one, right? And it kind of made me think, I'm like, there's got to be something else for me, right? Now that I've done this for a while, with something that comes back and locks in, say like an Elite, right? Where, because sometimes you're holding the pin on a deer for, you know, 2 minutes.
You make a sound, you're in trouble.
if your bow is kind of going like this a little bit on you because it's so amped up to go 380 feet per second, I mean, you got to kind of take that into account. So now I love bows that kind of lock in, and I can just sit there and do what I need to do. And I mean, it's something that you definitely got to go if you have an opportunity to have a good shop with different companies' bows, is to go in and shoot them yourself. And figure out what's for you.
So yeah, and it brings us to the last point, number 5, which is overall feel, and that is going to be all your decision here. What I recommend is, doing what Jamie just said. You go into the bow shop and get the overall feel of a bow. Again, there's so many different aspects to look at, but it all comes back to what is comfortable for you. I recommend shooting less poundage than you normally do, just so you can really feel the bow, get a feel for how it moves. Does it turn? Does it torque? Does it move? When you fire, does nothing happen? Because that's generally what you're looking for. You want the bow to be completely flat and just boom and power those arrows in. I will tell you guys this: if you go on YouTube and look for hunts, video hunts, a good example would be Ted Nugent. He was shooting tons of deer and animals with 48 pounds of power. So don't be scared to go a little bit lower, especially if you're in a position perched in a tree that's 20-yard pop shots, and you can get the deer when they're not alert. That's the key to that, because if a deer is alert, then the odds are they can jump your string, they can do all these things, and you don't want to have that.
I mean, I was a 70-pound guy, twisted all the way down, right? But then sometimes, if you're sitting down in your tree stand trying to shoot, and then you got to do this thing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
No, now I'm at 62 to 65, and it's just this.
Perfect balance,
right? Less movement, the better.
Yep, absolutely. So we hope this helped you guys today. Don't forget the accessories. They do change the bow. If you put a stabilizer on, it definitely will help a little bit. So I'd recommend figuring that out right off the bat. If you need to fix a bow, you can do different things with stabilizers and stuff. It gets a little more complicated, but for the initial buy, these are the 5 things that you should definitely check out. Thanks for watching BowHunterPlanet.com. We'll see you guys next time.